Okay, good evening again, and I'm glad the curriculum department's going to stay up here because I'm going to call on them as we progress through this. Just kidding. This is our November forecast, 5-year forecast, and this is following up from May. Obviously, we have to do this twice a year, and this gives us a good start of a look from the start of the year, and I think May will be a little bit more informative, especially this fiscal year, on where we're going. So just wanted to give some quick facts about the district. Our enrollment is, I worked with EMIS through the EMIS department through this, Ms. Therian, and she gave me some of these facts, but 4,060 is our enrollment right now. 27% is our special education population. Last year, this is an updated number, that 24 million. That was what we spent in 2024, fiscal year 24 was 24.2 million. Transportation costs, they continue to increase. And I know that there are some strategies to try to mitigate some of those increases over the next several years. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. Building properties, nine buildings over 115 acres. Again, I'm always astounded by the next one, the food service meals. They serve over 1 million meals every year, roughly around 1 million meals every year. And then our utility costs, 1.7, and we have an appropriation this year of 98.8 million. And that's important. You'll see in the budget here, we have a budget of roughly 94. We've appropriated 98. And we typically come in about 3% below our appropriations. This year, I think we've gotten pretty aggressive, and I'll share some things why we felt comfortable in getting aggressive. We're anticipating a 4%, coming in 4% below our appropriations this year. So we're anywhere between 3 and 4% in typical years. This is just our staff. I feel it's important to recognize them. They're a big part of putting this together and helping us with the numbers. And we all share the same district model. And everything we try to do upstairs is to support every student, every lesson, every day model of the district and the mission and vision that Mr. Paporis and his team lead every day. The school funding our goals, school funding overview and goals is we try to support student achievement, which are the 3 goals: student achievement, community credibility, and fiscal responsibility, with our 3 goals, which is to create clarity, provide transparency, and build dialogue. And we've defined some of these things underneath each of those headings. We're developing a district finance committee that will get off the ground in January. We have professionals that will come in and some of our consultants. Okay. Some of our consultants, along with some staff members here, department heads, certainly Mr. Paporis, and we're going to use that group next time in May when we do this 5-year forecast. It will be as proposed by the Finance Committee. So I'm excited to get into that and to really develop that as we move forward. We're creating we're updating our webpage, the finance webpage, and we expect that to be done. It'll be a progressive progress here, or progressive effort. But we expect it to be fully updated with things like this, the 5-year forecast. You'll be able to see all the 5-year forecasts. You'll see the appropriations. You'll see all of our monthly reports and any communications that we have on that web page. And again, we're trying to build that transparency with our stakeholders and build dialogue around district finances. And we've done that in several meetings, as we have with the clarity. With the reports that we've established and some new procedures that we've implemented upstairs since August. But we've met with the district administration team, and a goal that we have starting in the new year is that I've identified 4 members of our finance department, and we're going to work in schools. We're going to take a day a week, and we're going to try to be in every school, at least one of us once a month, so that we can provide support as needed to the building secretaries, to the principals if they have any questions. So the goal, again, starting in January will be that our principals see us at least once a month, somebody from the finance department. Here are enrollment trends that go back to 2019. We are currently right here, 24, 25, the 4,060 that I touched upon earlier. I'll highlight that. This tells a not so good story right now. In 2029, we are anticipating a drop of enrollment down to 3,771 kids. That's based on live birth rates and historical trends in the district, most recent historical trends. And this is where I think our work starts to support our academic teams here and our building principals. I think we need to have a real dedicated and defined marketing plan going forward, or establish some possibilities, or explore some opportunities for possibly open enrollment. I mean, there are some things that we can do, I think, to mitigate the loss in students, and I'm not suggesting that open enrollment is the answer, or that a dedicated marketing plan is going to be the end-all, be-all. But I know that every dollar that we get in here is based on our enrollment. And when we see a declining enrollment like that, I'll show you how that negatively impacts our bottom line when it comes to our finances, and helps determine when we may need to go back out to our community for another levy. So currently the district receives about $23,000. If you take our total revenues divided by our 4,060 students there, is about $23,007 per student. And this is the first year since 2019-20 year where we see our expenditures that are more than our revenue by about $300 here per student. And that equals about $1.4 million. And you'll see that $1.4 million in slides coming up, almost $1.5 million. This is a slide of our forecast summary. In the black bars on top is our revenue. The gray bars are our expenditures. And this is representative of a typical life cycle of school finance. So we just enjoyed 5 straight years of a surplus in Euclid here. And we are entering a 5-year cycle now where we're starting to deficit spend in each of our fiscal years moving forward from this year. And again, we are sitting at about $1.4 million this year. That's what we're anticipating as we go through here. But we think that with some work through the rest of the year, we can really hopefully decrease that deficit and get closer to balancing our books by the end of the year. And again, that's about a $1.4 million deficit right now we're projecting. And I know that there are positions that we haven't filled. This can come organically, is what I'm saying, through the rest of the year, through some positions that we haven't filled, and other measures that we can implement to try to reduce that deficit and be closer to a balanced book by the end of the year. These are revenues by sources and year-over-year projected overview. And I'm not going to get into a whole lot of these. The numbers are the numbers, but I want to bring your attention to 2023. 23 is when we experienced our first year of our levy that we passed a couple years ago. So we passed a levy. 22 we experienced a partial year. I think we passed in 21. 22 we experienced a partial year of revenues. In 23 you see that spike there because that's the first year we collected our full tax year tax collection from that levy that was passed a couple years before in 21. And you'll see that reduction 24, 25, 26, 27. People say, well, why? Our property values are going up. Taxes should be going up. That should be more money for Euclid. And typically that would be true, but that downward trend there with our revenue indicate our per pupil funding from the state. This is the state fair funding plan. And this shows you how our enrollment impacts our funding. So the fair funding model went into effect in 2022. It's a 6-year phase-in, and that phase-in, we're in year 3 of that phase-in. We're entering year 4 of that phase-in, and that phase-in is uncertain what it's going to be in 26-27, the final biennium of this phase-in plan. So we're unsure how that's going to impact us, but I know that we've received about 16% in year 1, 33% in year 2, 50% in year 3, 67% in year 4, where we currently are, and then we hope that it increases that 17% a year, eventually getting us up to that 100% by the final year of this phase-in model. Our general property taxes, this is obviously what we receive from our community here. Our first full year of collection, again, was 2022. But we did experience a levy that fell off the books during this year. There was a reduction in 2023 due to allowing a levy to expire, and in 2024 we experienced the full effect of that levy expiring. Public utility property, this is just, it's a small revenue. It accounts for about 4.6% of our revenue. It's revenue generated by public utilities on personal property, and it remains fairly steady. We'll see a growth if projections are true in 2029 by about $1 million. But those remain fairly steady through the forecast. Our income tax, this is something, until 2019 we were collecting our portion of 20.16% of the shared income tax with the city. In 2019 that went down based on a decision the city made to 16.49%. So obviously we've had some discussions with the city. The goal is to at least return to that 20.16 collection rate, which would mean about $1.6 million to our yearly collection. So we're hoping that we can have some more talks with the city, and that there will be a resolution this year. And based on that resolution, depending on what it is, we'll see a little bit different story in May, we hope, if we can get some resolution with the city. The unrestricted grants and aid, this is our state foundation program. This again shows the enrollment and how that impacts our funding right here. And again, this is the state funding model, where this is the specific page that I was talking about earlier with the phase-in, and then how it remains steady in 27, 28, because we really just don't know what the state's going to do. Every indication from some folks that we've talked to during Capitol Conference and in our state legislators indicate that they're going to honor that phase-in process, but we did not show that on our forecast because we don't have that. We don't have that in the bag yet. Restricted grants and aid, this is for disadvantaged pupil, impact aid, special education, gifted career tech. Again, these are monies that we receive from the state that are restricted for the purposes for which we receive them. The state share of property taxes, rollback, I'm sorry. This is a reimbursement that the state provides all homeowners in Euclid. And then there's another 2.5% that the state gives for people who live in their home. So on average, there's a reimbursement from the state of 9.68% for the local residential property taxes, and 4.3% for the homestead rollback on that. So our citizens receive about, they don't even see about 13% of the taxes. They avoid those through this state homestead rollback program. And that's for every community. All other operating revenues, these are interest earnings. This is this is an interesting dilemma we find ourselves in with interest earnings. As our cash balance reduces, obviously we're going to have less money to invest. We've been, over these last 5 years, we've been enjoying about $2 million in interest earnings per year. Because we're going to have less funds to invest, and based on what the interest rates are expected to do as they drop, that $2 million is going to be impacted quite a bit. We are also limited by what we can invest in. So as these safe investments start declining, as these interest rates start declining within these safe investments, we're very limited to what we can invest in. Anything guaranteed by the full faith and credit of the United States federal government is pretty much what we're limited to invest in. And that interest rate has been about 5% over the last couple years, and we've already seen a decline this year, a reduction in that this year. And so a lot of private companies, when this starts to occur, they're going to go to the stock market, they're going to put their money in there, but we are not allowed to do that. So we are limited in what we can invest, and therefore we anticipate these interest earnings to decline steadily throughout the next 5 years. Excess tuition costs are included in here, as are various donations, miscellaneous donations here. The other non-financing, the other financing sources are not operating, and these are the transfers and advances. We're going to be approving advances here in a couple minutes, but transfers are permanent, transactions that are made to other departments in the district, like athletics. Every year we're making a transfer. Transfers do not come back to the general fund. They go to support student activity funds, athletics, and things like that. Advances are short-term loans. These are often used for grants. They're short-term loans from the general fund to whichever fund requires that advance. And again, you'll see that tonight that we have a couple state and 2 federal advances that we are returning. So this has little to no impact. The transfers do, but the advances have no impact because if they go out, they have to come back into the general fund. We've made it to our expenditure categories, and you'll see obviously here that personnel costs currently this year they are just under 66%. They are projected to grow to about 70%. And we're unique in that a lot of districts are at around 80%. And why we're at 65 to 70% is because of the purchase services that we contract out. Things like transportation. Most districts are paying their bus drivers. We contract that out. Parapros that we've contracted with. Cleaners. We have part of our cleaning staff that are on purchase services. And our building subs, some of them are purchase services through Wren Hill. Again, most districts are 80%, and their purchase services are much less than what ours are, but we just have an inverse here because of how we do business in the district. Personnel services, this is something that we need to pay attention to. These are the salaries in the district. These wages, I'm excited to say we've gotten competitive with our teachers and rest of the staff. So our staff took freezes going all the way back to pre-2010. They took freezes, they took reductions, and the board, they committed to making our teachers competitive again with our counterparts in Cuyahoga County. So through the last 2 negotiations, you'll see in 2023 there was a large spike. In 2024 there will be a large spike. In 2025, as we've just finished negotiations here. They will be paid retroactive back to the beginning of the year. But again, these personnel, these wages and these benefits account for, by the 2029, will account for 70.8% of all expenditures in the district. You're never going to be able to see this, and I'm sorry. Well, I can. these are, I thought this was important for folks to understand here. These are our benefit costs. These are our premiums. Our premiums, we just found out today, are going up 10% across the district. So everybody who is on our benefit plan will experience a 10% increase in their premiums starting January 1st. But these numbers are indicative of that 10%. And it's incredible, the benefit, and when they say benefit, it truly is a benefit. When you're looking at, for example, our Euclid teachers, right here, this line under full family benefits, the total premium for that benefit is $28,752. Right now, the teachers pay 13%, and that's another thing that happened that is very positive in the district. You'll see different groups are at different percentages. By 2027, everybody will be at 15%. But that $28,752 total premium, our staff cost to that is just over $3,700, and the district picks up $25,000 of that district benefit. That truly is a benefit to our members here, and it's not just the teachers; it's everybody associated who enjoys the benefits. Our dental costs are fairly, they're very reasonable. The total premium is $1,264, again, staying with that family benefit for Euclid teachers. The staff pays 2% of that, or $25 a year, where the district picks up $1,239 a year. And then we have vision. We provide vision to every employee in the district at no cost. And again, staying with that premium, that family benefit premium of $232 is what the district pays for that vision program. We also have a fourth benefit, and that fourth benefit is life insurance, and there are varying policies that varying groups receive, from 50 to 100 to a couple times folks' salaries. But that is fairly inconsequential to our bottom line, and we're happy to be able to provide that at a very low cost. Some teacher information. Again, going back to 2019, you'll see that we were at $71,000 as an average pay. 24-25 will be $80,577 this year after the increases. So this puts us, I think, Mr. Proporus, in the top 5, I think, in Cuyahoga County. I think we were when we were looking at the data. And we know that other districts are going to be negotiating either this year or in coming years. But as of today, I believe we sit in the top 5 in Cuyahoga County with the average wages for our teachers. And it breaks it down beneath at the elementary level, the middle school, high school levels, and new teachers. And when I saw this, I was a little confused about new teachers. I needed some clarity. When I hear new teachers, I see new teachers, and I know what our starting salary is for new teachers, and it's going to be about $48,000 moving forward from this year, retroactive this year. But these aren't new teachers. These are new teachers to Euclid. So most of them are new out of college, but we do have some teachers that come to us from other districts, and they get their steps, and that's why that inflates the cost of some of these new teachers to $57,273 starting this year. So by the numbers, and again, I appreciated the thoroughness of the curriculum department's numbers, and I was happy when they were talking about their graduation of 82.8%. I was on my presentation making sure that matched, and the chronic absenteeism. But these numbers come from EMIS, so what they have is what I have. And the chronic absenteeism, I think they touched on it enough. But what I wanted to focus on as well, we have 45% of our students who are chronically absent. You couple that with the 18,000 days, just under 18,000 days that our staff miss. And that's not teachers, that's staff across the district. But to focus on the classroom and the teachers and the impact on our students, which is why we're all here, we have about 7,755 days of absence with our teachers. So you couple that with our chronic absenteeism, and you have to assume that not every day that our teacher misses, it does a student miss. And that begs the question, how much instructional time is being missed through these absences, both the chronically absent, the 45% are chronically absent, but also our teachers. I can tell you that it costs the district about $8,000 for these absences for folks to stay home per year per staff member. These purchase services, again, this is a little bit out of line if you would to look at other districts, and again, we do a little bit more than some. I know districts are moving more and more toward contracting out to companies where their expertise is, whether it's transportation or cleaning or anything like that. But these purchase services, you'll see a decline in 2025. Right here, you'll see a reduction. That's because we worked collaboratively with the building administrators, the district administrative team, whether it was at Fordyce or the building level, and we were able to implement a $1 million reduction in spends at each of their levels. Now, when we started negotiation, that was the request anyway, was $1 million. We got to about $500,000, and if we're able to maintain this, it'll put us in a good spot. It kind of resets our floor from here to here, and you'll see the increases going through 2029. Supplies and materials, these are really insignificant. It takes up about 2.56% of the percentage compared to our overall spends. But supplies and materials, they kind of speak for themselves: textbooks, media material, district fuel, other maintenance supplies. The capital outlay, Mr. Proporis, I think we're done with construction for the most part.
I hope so.
Me too. So you'll see that capital outlay, and this capital outlay are things like we expect purchases like vehicles, computers, minor renovations. Most are paid from the Permanent Improvement Fund. These are smaller items that the department has discretionary spending over. Intergovernment debts, these are our payments for our levies, our bonds that we passed for the buildings. And you'll see in 2024 a spike, and that's due to the bond issues that we're facing. But you'll also see a reduction in 2025. That reduction is because in 24, that was our last payment for our House Bill 264 project. I think they did it 10 to 15 years ago. But we've paid that off, and then you're going to see a leveling off of our intergovernmental debt that we pay every year. Other objects, again, very inconsequential, but these are categories for treasurer fees, audit expenses, election expenses. So I didn't know this until recently, but there's a cost to put a levy or a bond issue on the ballot. And right now, those costs are not included in here because we have not assumed that we are going to put a levy on the ballot. We have not assumed that we're going back to the community. So we will, in whatever year that is, whether it's soon or whether it's several years away, we will experience a spike in one of these years. But again, it's fairly inconsequential. Levies are split between all the issues on the ballot. So it's good for us if we go out in a year where we expect a lot of issues on the ballot because it's split evenly between those issues. That's why presidential years are so popular for people to go out for new money. Just to make sure everybody is clear on this, in 2020, we passed an emergency levy. That will come up for renewal in 2030. I know that's a little bit beyond our 5-year forecast going through 2029, but that is something that we're going to need to keep an eye on. There are some options when it comes to that emergency for that renewal of the emergency levy. And one of those options are that we can go out a year earlier. We can go out in 2029, a year before it expires, and we can either put it on for a straight renewal or we can add an increase to the renewal. There are several options that we can look at when we are renewing this levy in 2030. If we're not successful, we can go back to 2030. We can go into 2030, make adjustments if we need to our ask, and go back out in 30 to ensure that we are successful getting this renewal. This is the grand finale, I guess. This is our 5-year forecast. Lines 6, and I'm not going to make you read this. Lines 6.01 and lines 15 are our most important lines. And as a result, I've highlighted those in the next slide here. I've highlighted the revenues and expenses that we are expecting and projecting over the next 5 years. And this is line 6 when you look at that big sheet. And this shows the year-over-year deficit spending that, again, we're going to experience this year, possibly for the first time since 2019. We're expecting just under $1.5 million. And you'll see as that enrollment figure, if you keep going back to enrollment, that's a direct impact to our yearly deficits because of what we receive through the state foundation, through the Fair Funding Program. So eventually that gets to $18.1 million, and this is the second most important line, line 15 on the big sheet. And this is our fund balance. Currently we have a fund balance of $42 million, and by 2029 we expect to be upside down by $8.4 million, provided we do nothing, provided everything stays the same as it is today. So our work is in this time frame right here, between now and 2029. And the more work that we can do to identify the things that we can do to mitigate these losses, the more work we can do closer to 2025 will have an impact, a greater impact on 2029. The goal should be to get through 2029. I have several scenarios that I've put together here over the past couple weeks since starting this forecast. And I'm not going to share those because they're my scenarios right now. And it's important that we collaborate with the district administrative team and the folks in the buildings and here in Fordyce to come up with ideas on what we can do to mitigate some of these losses. And then in March, we expect to have possibly some executive sessions, not executive sessions, but what do we call those? Work sessions. Sessions, thank you. Work sessions with the district, public work sessions, to talk about what our ideas are in March. And then by May, if we are able to implement some things, some ideas, and really get together and understand class sizes, understand programs, understand what we're spending our money on, and making sure that it's benefiting the kids, we can come back with a different story in May. So this is a very preliminary look at the next 5 years. I like the May forecasts a lot better because it gives a kind of an idea where we're going to end up for the year. But this is as valuable. This is valuable because it tells us where we need to go. May is valuable because it tells us how successful we are in what we're going to do to move forward.
Any questions from anyone on the board?
Thank you. I appreciate all the detail in this. I have a question about, you mentioned some reduction in costs for purchased services. That's an area that, for more than one reason, I think it costs more to have people provide services when they're not our direct employees. I understand in some situations it's a necessity out of, what is available and all of that, but you mentioned some work already to reduce the cost of purchased services. Can you explain? You said $1 million at one point, but I didn't really follow the train of thought after that.
Yeah, these were the departmental, the discretionary spending departmentally. So we're challenging the departments, and they accepted the challenge to their benefit. They accepted the challenge to see where they could cut within their budgets, whether it's purchase services or other expenditures that they make. It could be supplies. We've opened that up, so I'm sorry if I misspoke on that. But it would include trying to control spending departmentally, by department. And again, we posed the question when we were meeting with all of the department heads and building leaders if they thought it was possible. Most did. Some of them negotiated, which we encouraged them to do, and they made a good case as to why they couldn't go down 10%. But the goal is 10%. I can tell you from an operations standpoint, I know Mr. Marbury's looking at the number of kids on a bus. He's looking at setbacks, for temperature setbacks, especially when we're on vacation for winter break and spring break. So instead of maybe setting the temperature back or up in the summer or in the winter at 6 or 7 o'clock at night, maybe he does that at 4 or 5 o'clock at night. So these little wins that we can get, whether it's utilities, whether it's with our transportation, or anything else, supplies and materials, is what we're looking for to try to close that gap.
Thank you, I appreciate that explanation.
I don't think there is any other questions. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Eckler.
you.